I don't know about you, but whenever I'm on a vacation, no matter what kind, no matter how long or short, I always used to struggle with managing my money, and over the years I learned some tricks to help me budget and plan my money better, to help me predict my wants and needs, which then help me make better decisions on vacation itself. And then in the second part of the video I will show you exactly how much I actually spent and how I did. So kind of the first part of this is really planning the budget, and I'm doing this a couple of days before the trip because I was already here once, I already know the general prices, so it's not really super important to me that I plan like super in advance. The reason why I want to have a budget for the trip is just to have like a baseline of how much we are actually spending when we are on a trip, and also just to have like for future use. You never really know when you're going to need this, and also just kind of like a practice to see if I can do it, how good I am at this. It reveals our habits, it really shows what we spend on, what kind of purchases we make. It is pretty important to me to have at least some sort of budget, and right now we're going to do the planning part. The idea for me, how I want to do this, how I usually do this, even if we are not on a trip, if I have like an idea what I want to do and I want to see if that fits in my budget for this month or maybe for some other month, and your best friend here will be the internet, and my best friend here is the internet. It's always the internet. And of course you can just simply Google like average prices of this, that and the other for your trip, but my personal recommendation is to go to Google Maps, and now we're going to take a look at local restaurants and see how much they cost. For myself, I'm gonna have a couple of categories. We are going to talk about them, but the most important for me is always the food. So we're going to do that first, and I'm going to put like 4 or 5 different parts of that: breakfast, lunch, dinner and snacks. And then we have like a special one, and I'll tell you what it is, don't worry. But if you paid for your hotel all-inclusive, or you already have breakfast, of course you're probably not gonna do for all these meals, you're probably gonna just do maybe lunch. But we purposefully did not do a hotel with anything because we do want to eat their local food, and honestly, for the price, breakfast is usually like between 6 and 8 euros. The time really doesn't always work for us because the breakfast is usually from 7 to 10. Sometimes we need to leave earlier, sometimes we need more time because we maybe need to sleep more. So even if it wastes just one day, it doesn't feel really good. And oftentimes the breakfast is not something we really like to eat, and you can easily buy maybe even cheaper items elsewhere, so we decided to get it without breakfast, without anything basically. So the first thing is gonna be breakfast. By the time you're watching this, I'm already back because I want to show you how well we're done, so obviously I'm not gonna post before where we're going. So right now I'm gonna show you exactly where we're going and what I did as research. The first thing I'm gonna go is just zoom in on our city where we are staying, and I'm just gonna type first bakery. Then I'm just gonna go bakery by bakery and see what they offer, what are the prices. So I'm just like looking at the pictures. If they have like a menu, then I'm gonna do a menu. Okay, this is more like I'm looking for some breakfast foods. In this case, either like, I don't know, like a pita or something. This one does not seem to have any. We'll try one of these. I think I already saw one last time. No, not that one, the other one. This. If they have like a, okay, they have like food and drinks. Maybe we can look here if they have something that would be good for breakfast. You can sometimes see what other people are eating, or from the window what they have inside. So they have bread, which is a good sign. And I think I here already saw that they have like at least something that we can grab and take when we are going somewhere else, like to the beach. So they have pretzels. That's good. This is what I mean. So from the outside you can see that they have like pizza and some other pastries that we can obviously eat for breakfast, so this is perfect. I don't know the exact prices, but we can maybe estimate from the prices of other things. You also really have to be careful about when the photo was taken, if they do have prices. The other things look really good, I have to say. I cannot really see the prices here, but usually I already know like around how much they are. Still, it's good to know that there are options. We're gonna try more. Maybe some other shop has the prices, even though they are different shops. They oftentimes have very similar prices. Yeah, I cannot see, but it doesn't matter. Let's try breakfast. See what they're going to. Okay, I already looked at some of these because I was curious before, maybe even when we booked the apartment, so I'm gonna check this one. I know this one is good because, like I said, I already looked. And they have like breakfast foods like this. This looks amazing. Definitely gonna get that. So now we're looking if they have a menu or prices somewhere. Ooh, this one also looks really good. Definitely going here. They have toast. They have different kinds of breakfast. Like I said, I already know because I looked it up. And they do have a website here, so we can take a look. Food menu, okay. Pretzels are about 4.5 to 5.5. They also have other things. The prices are about the same. The most I'm seeing here is 7. Oh, there's 8, but still that's the highest. So I can put like 8 if I want to be like on the higher end, just because I want to overestimate. But also if we decide to get coffee here as well, because we do like to do that sometimes, get breakfast and coffee together. I could also look up coffee prices, but I already know about how much they are. Okay, let's look it up either way, just in case. So coffee is between 1 and 3. If we take like the highest price, it's 11, but we're probably not gonna take those two every time. So I think I'm gonna put 10 just in case, because we have other items, but let's do 10 for breakfast. The apartment we're going does have a coffee machine, and we are going definitely to use it at least once or twice. Still, I like to overestimate and underestimate. Even if we don't take the coffee, for example, in the morning, maybe we want one in the evening, so that will be from that budget. Let's do lunch next. For lunch and dinner, sometimes we eat the same food. One day we do like, let's say, gyros for lunch, and then tomorrow for dinner. So I'm not gonna type lunch or dinner, I'm just gonna do restaurants and just see what they're offering and like average prices. So let's just choose some random ones. If they have like menus, I'm gonna take a look at the menu. You really have to be careful here about the date of the photo, because it could be really old, so the prices are not valid anymore. If that's the only photo, you can just like estimate maybe 10 or 20% more depending on when the photo is taken. Or you can just look up, like I said, other places and then estimate compared to them how much it would be. In this case, I see that prices are 8, 15, depends on what we're eating. This is also a really good time to see what meals there are to get. Maybe you already know something that you like and you can plan when you want to get that. For example, they have pasta. It is from last year, but the prices will be maybe like €1 more than this photo at max. That's my estimate. Maybe they will be the same. And I can see that they're 6, 7, 6, 7. So maybe if we take that, for example, for dinner, that will be about like €7 per person. If we take them to drink, maybe it's like 10. Okay. I can take a look at other places as well. This is also a really good time to take a look at the ratings of the restaurants. If you notice that there's a restaurant that has like really good reviews, you can take a note of it or save it and just like know for future. And sorry, I'm using the incognito mode to show you this, so everything is in German because I live in Austria, so please ignore that. Anyway, the other restaurants, this one for example has pretty good reviews, and we can take a look at what they offer. They have some fish, they have salad, and we can take a look at the menu. For example, this one is kind of old, but if they don't have that at all, you can always try with the reviews, see if they mention something like that. I have to say, I do plan to also leave some reviews on Google Maps from me, because that's kind of giving back to the community that I took from. I usually only give like either 1 star if I'm super disappointed, or 5 stars if it was really decent and nice, and if I really liked it. If they don't have a menu here, maybe they have a website. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Besides the place where we're going to stay, I always like to take a look at like other close by places or other beaches that we know we're going to visit, and then take a look at the prices there. So for example, we are probably going to go to this place in Kiowa Lagoon. Here they have like a tavern, so we can take a look at the prices here and see what they offer and how much is it. They have some burgers, which is about 5 or 6 euros. That's completely fine. They do have even breakfast, which is omelette and toasts. The prices are pretty okay. They even have like steak and souvlaki. That's about 7 or 8. So I think I'm going to do 15 for lunch and 10 for dinner, just in case. Like we saw, the prices are sometimes, if you sit down in the restaurant, it's 12 to 15, but if you're just eating like more fast food like gyros and souvlaki, it's usually less, so I think that will be just enough. I also like to do snacks separately, because what I usually mean by that is either fruits or like ice cream. We can look up ice cream here, and for prices of fruits you can usually just Google, that's the best case. It's also usually really similar to other places, and it also depends what kind of fruit you want to eat. Sometimes you even want to get fruit on the beach, so that's gonna affect. If you do like to do that, look up prices on the beach you're going to be at, on a beach cafe or something. I think I'm just gonna estimate like €6 per day, even though I think that's maybe even too much. Ice cream is usually like 2 to 3 euros per person, and then fruit is less, but just in case we maybe some days get both, so I'm gonna do snacks, €6. And I have to include like a special case here because we want to get sometimes like fun drinks like cocktails on the beach or after like in the evening, and for that we can do the same exact thing. We can look up cocktails and see how much they are, more or less. We are estimating right now, so it doesn't really matter. This, for example, is really too old, so we cannot use that. Maybe we can see it here. If they don't have it, we can try with reviews, but I don't want to do that. We can try another cafe and see the prices. Okay, this is much newer, and the prices are from 3 to 6. Oh, this is for coffee. The prices are like 8.5 to 12, so let's do like 15 for both of us per day, so that's gonna be 15 per day for both of us. All of these items we have to double because we are 2 people. We can sum it up and then see how much it is. That is 41 times 2, that's 82, and then for 10 days that's gonna be 820, so we can just round it up to 850, for example. For cocktails, it's gonna be 15 times 10, I'm gonna do 150. And I have to say, we're not gonna get cocktails every single day, but maybe some days we get 2, so I'm gonna average it out 10 days, 7.5 per person. I think that's fine because sometimes it's not gonna be a cocktail, maybe just some other like fruit drink, maybe like a smoothie or something. We're still not completely done with food. I think I'm gonna do like €50 for just groceries. Maybe that's even not enough because sometimes you need like some small items from the grocery store. Sometimes it's just like sweet snacks. I am going to put 50, but we will see because I don't know what we could possibly get. We don't need food to make like breakfast or dinner, but maybe we decide sometimes we want to make something. We do like to buy like their snacks to try. That's what we like to do. So I'm gonna put 50, but we will see how much we actually spend. That's gonna be it for food. Next thing that's really big in how much it costs is activities. And I already know one activity we want to do that's kind of pricey. It's like going on a cruise. That small cruise last time when we were in Greece was about €35. Let's say like right now it's 40. For 2 people that's gonna be 80. And let's say for other items, I don't know what we could possibly do, but let's say we want to go to a museum or something like that. I'm gonna put another 50 for that just in case, but I think it's gonna be more than enough. So for activities, I'm gonna put 80 plus 50, which is 130. I'm gonna speed up here because it's really not as important as other things. We're gonna do a couple of very specific categories, at least for us in this case. One of them is going to be clothes. I don't really want to buy too many clothes, but I do have some things in mind that I could possibly find there, and if I do, I want to be able to buy it. But I don't want to spend too much because I know some of these items I can find here even better, so I'm gonna do like €50 for clothes. Then we have gifts, and honestly, I really want to not do as many gifts because it's usually not really that good of quality. People really actually use those things. I am really against souvenirs unless it's something like either that a person likes to eat or that's something really useful, but I still want to have like at least some sort of budget for that just in case we do find exactly perfect gift for some people, and I'm gonna do like €30 for that. If we want to buy other like, I don't know how to call this category, but when we go to like certain small shops and you buy like small items, not really souvenirs necessarily, but just small trinkets, I want to put like €50 for that. Even though I really want to resist buying a lot of this stuff, I want to be realistic, so I want to put like a 50 for that. Similarly to that, I already know my parents are gonna ask for olive oil and olives, so I want to put a budget for that. Even if they do give me money specifically for that, I just want to make sure that I can buy that for them, even if they don't give me money for that. And even for myself, I really like olives, so I want to bring some home. And I'm gonna do like €50 for that, so just for olives and olive oil. Last thing we have here is the car. So transport, gas for the car. If you're using a ferry boat, we are using a ferry boat, so the tickets for that, and anything else that could possibly fall under this category. For that, honestly, I usually ask my husband because he's better at estimating that, and he told me to just put like 300, even though that's probably overestimating it, but it's better to overestimate this stuff than under. So for car, I'm gonna put 300. Which brings the total to 1,630 euros. In this case, I would round out to 1,700. That is just to make sure that we have like everything covered. This does not include our apartment. We are paying that separately. It doesn't really matter in this case because when we book it, we already know how much it's gonna cost, so I'm not gonna include it in this. That's a completely separate topic. So we're gonna need about 1,700 for this trip. If we wanted to save some money, then I can look now at this categories and see which ones we really don't care as much about, or which of these things is easier to save on. For example, for breakfast and dinner we could make something. We can also buy cheaper things. In this case, if we do go with the bakery, it's probably gonna cost less than what we saw in the breakfast cafe. And also if we make our coffee instead of buying it, which like I said, we're probably gonna do at least once or twice. And again, for the activities, for example, if we are really on a budget, we would completely skip that. Also about the cocktails, obviously if we were on a tighter budget, we would not do them, or not do them as often, probably like half the time. There are definitely cheaper activities you can do, there are free activities you can do. You also don't have to drive as much. Some people use the public transport if it's available. That's completely okay. We are going specifically with the car because we like to drive to other beaches and visit other places. But in my case, this is exactly the plan. This is what we want. This is what we can afford. This is just like my estimate of how much we would spend. And I guess right about now, you're gonna see how it actually went. See if I'm actually any good at this. Hello, I'm finally back after how many days? I don't even remember right now. It's not exactly a day after vacation, it's been a couple of days, maybe a week. And I'm finally going to film the second part of this, which is how much we actually spent. I tried to write down every day what we spent, but to be honest, most of my data is coming from our bank and card statements because that's just the easiest way for us. It's basically the exact same way I do it already for us personally, like for our monthly budgets, but with this we did have to spend some money in cash, more than we usually would here. So I do want to have like a little disclaimer that I may have forgotten about some of that. I don't really remember, especially if it's like a smaller amount, like 2 or 3 euros. No way to know exactly. But other than that, I really try to remember everything that we spent, and now we can see how exactly we did. I have to say it's much better than I expected. I think you will be surprised to hear the actual total amount we spent, but I also want to go through the categories and explain our thoughts behind them. I do want to say before we do this part that I did not include the amount we owed for the apartment. The biggest reason for that is just like one flat amount that we booked like months and months prior to the actual vacation, so just wasn't really, we already prepared for that part, and it didn't really matter because for me it's not like that we couldn't afford some of these things. It's just to make sure that we spend our money really in a way that we want and not go overboard on some stupid stuff. And the second thing is the way we went on this vacation, it's a little bit complicated. We did not really go directly from here, we kind of went to our hometown first, so I didn't really calculate the amounts we spent like on the airport to here and back. I don't know if it would count or not. I think maybe for some people. I did not, because I just kind of calculated that into our regular budget. We already had tickets months before, so I don't know. I did calculate then transfer from our hometown to the vacation spot, so I think for some people it would count, for some it would not. I don't know. In my head it just made sense that way when I started to calculate it. At this point it doesn't even matter anyway because I just didn't include it anyway, so we will just work with what we already have, which is not including that. Anyway, you know already which categories I decided to go with. We're going category by category. The first one I did was food, which included breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. I completely forgot to include tips in this. I just kind of calculate like the raw amount, and usually we like to tip when we are on vacation because we are like tourists there, and the servers and stuff, like these people are not always like from there. It's like they're coming just to be servers for the season, so we usually try to tip, especially because we are in a position that we can do that. I know a lot of people that come to these places are not, because this is Europe, so it's not mandatory to tip, and usually people tip not very much, but we are in a position, so we just usually do better, depending on like the service and what we were eating, how much we liked it. And yeah, I did not calculate that when I estimated the food amount, but it worked out anyway. That kind of goes for food and the fun drinks. And in total, I calculated that we spent 526.38 euros, which is a bit less than we calculated, but in a good way, because the way I can explain this is that there were some days that we didn't really eat too much because it was either too hot or we woke up kind of late, so we just kind of skipped breakfast and then had lunch and dinner, or we didn't go to the like restaurant or had like maybe just some cheaper food. So in total it turned out quite less. I expected 850 and we had 526, which is pretty good change, but trust me, we made that up in some other categories. So let's go to the next one, which I said will be like fun drinks, which is mostly cocktails in different places. I'm not really endorsing like alcoholism, just to be clear. Usually we don't drink this amount. It was more just to try on vacation different stuff and, you know, just enjoy and relax. I calculated that we would take like 10 times about 15 euros per night for cocktails, which was 150, and we actually spent 165. The first couple of nights we found this place where we had like happy hour cocktails. For each drink it was like 6 euro instead of like 9, and obviously for 2 drinks we saved more, but it was really worth it. We get to try that. After we tried all the drinks that are like in rotation for happy hour, we tried some other ones. It was a really fun experience. The place we went to that had those happy hour drinks was really good. They had like really nice music and nice people there. So yeah, we went there basically every day. I didn't even know until the end how exactly we would spend, because on the last night we decided to go 2 times. Once on like this melon cocktail, which was like literally like a huge melon, and then they take the inner stuff out and serve it so you could eat it, and then fill it with like, I don't know, some alcohol and stuff. It was pretty good. It was a really nice experience, so I'm really glad. But after that we still wanted to go for more because it was like the last night. So I think that night we spent most of our money on cocktails, like maybe even a third, because the melon was like 25, so I don't know. Next thing is grocery. I calculated 50 and we spent 58.29, and I have to say we were pretty good about this. We only bought like water, some snacks, and then about last day or something like that I decided we should buy more sunscreen just in case, and also to take back home because we need it here as well. So that was like 11 euros, which put this amount over what we calculated, but still it's only 8 euros above. I'm actually pretty happy about it. That's about it what I can say about groceries. It's pretty straightforward. We didn't buy a bunch of stupid stuff like we sometimes do, like their local snacks, which we like to do, but then we don't have enough time to eat them by the time we go home. And this time it's a bit different because we had to fly back from my hometown, so we didn't really have like the space for so many things. So yeah, I'm happy how we did. Next thing was activities. I calculated 130 and we spent 110.5. For this, the amount I expected was about like 40 per person for the cruise, and we went on a cruise that was actually 50 per person because we chose one that we didn't already go on, and this one was around the whole island, so like the whole day, and you make a circle around the island with stops for swimming and food. And it is important that for this activity the food was included for lunch, so that was pretty good and it was really fun. I always remember these cruises. They're usually a highlight of our vacation. We took one trip as well last time we were on Tassos, and it was great as well. This one was a bit longer, like I said, because it was around the whole island. Oh my god, the sun is playing with me today. I'm gonna love this in post. Okay, I have to be a bit faster or the sun will set. Like I said, we took a bit of a different trip, which was perfect. We got a couple of more hours and we visited a beach that we usually wouldn't with the regular cruise, so we were super happy about that. The captain of the boat played really good music, so that was really nice. We had like a small interaction about that, and yeah, I was super happy. I was dancing on the boat the whole time, and yeah, the best spent money probably. The other thing that we spent for the activities was this small olive museum, and the tickets were not really that expensive, but we did get a couple of things in there, like some olive oil products, like a hand cream and stuff like that, and I kind of included in this budget because it was in the same place, so why not? That one was also really nice. It's a very small museum, but it was enjoyable. It was like a nice break in the routine, and I really enjoyed it. Next thing was clothes, and for this I'm so proud of myself because I really tried not to look at too much clothes, because first of all it would be hard to bring back here because we, like I said, we already had a suitcase. It was already almost full, and I didn't really want to. I already have clothes that I wanted to buy that are not here. I only bought one ring, which I already planned to buy, and we bought a beach bag, which we really needed because the previous one was like years old, I think more than 6 years old, and it really started to completely break apart. And we left that one at my hometown and then brought the new one here because we also go to the beach sometimes here, or to the like a pool or something. And in total for clothes we spent 41 and I expected 50, so that was literally perfect. I was really debating on buying one thing that I kind of wanted, which is like a beach cover, but I in the end decided not to buy it because I already had one. I don't really need to, and the one I really liked was like white with some golden details, but these golden details get ruined really fast because I already have one cover. I don't know if I got it in the same place, I don't think so, but still I know these golden details don't really last very long, so it would just turn white with some gray details really fast, so I don't really need it that much. The green one serves me very nicely. I don't really use it that often. It's literally like once a year for 10 days, and then throughout the year maybe 10 more times, so it's not really worth it. Next thing was gifts, and here we did not really do too well. For gifts we calculated 30 euros, and I have to say the reason for that is because I really didn't want to spend too much on like souvenirs, especially because most of those are kind of useless and a lot of them are just bought from China. It's like, it's really not worth it. But I'm happy to say, even though we overspent by a bunch, you will hear right now, we did not buy souvenirs. We actually bought some very useful stuff, especially items that people we were buying for asked for, so I'm not really mad at us that we bought these things. I do have to say also that this is kind of connected to the olives part, which we calculated 50 for. I don't exactly know why I chose 50 instead of like a little bit more. I think it was because we were supposed to buy olive oil for my parents, and I guess I thought it was about 50 euros, but it was much more. It was about 60 something or 60, something like that. So even for that I went overboard. But then we also got olive oil for other people in the family, not the big one, but like smaller bottles that were like about 10 euros for my mother-in-law and other people, so it kind of added up. We also got like oregano also for people, and I don't even know what else. One more thing that I remember that we got is very specific thing that was kind of expensive, is this like sparkling mist, and I first got it for myself even though I included the amount with the gift because we paid all of it together, so it was like not a specific one item on the list, and that one was like almost 30 euros just the mist, but it was so good. I tried it in the store, but I bought it for myself because it was really like, I liked how much of the actual glitter comes out when you use it, and I knew that my sister-in-law really wanted something like this, and so I sent her a video and asked her, do you want this? And she said yes, so we went back and bought one for her as well, so that's like 60 euros just for the two of us to have like this glittery mist. But you know, it's glitter, so it's okay. Other than that, I don't really remember if we bought much other items. I almost forgot one of the items that we bought for people also was honey. And not any honey, we bought like specific, like from the local beekeeper that sells like on the street. We bought like 4 different jars. One was actually for us, but we couldn't bring it right now. We left it in Serbia, in our hometown, but we will bring it some other time. I mean, it's honey, doesn't go bad. It's a specific fine honey, which is really good. It's local, from a local beekeeper. We paid that in cash, and I almost forgot to include it. Literally, I just did because I remembered it was a gift. I almost forgot about it, and I think that's also a really good purchase. We bought like 1 big jar for my parents, and then we bought a couple of smaller ones, one for us and a couple of others for other people in the family. And honestly, like I said, my point with this was just to avoid buying souvenirs, and I'm really happy because we bought like really useful, really good stuff, and I don't really care that the total amount for this category was 120.7 and I calculated 30. I mean, it's okay. Like I said, we really bought really nice, impactful stuff, none of the cheap stuff, so I'm happy. With that comes the other part, which is the olives. I calculated it separately. I estimated 50 for olives. We spent about 90. Of that, for us, it was maybe like 10 euros. I bought 1 bag for myself and then 1 bag of olives to bring here for my office. The people in my office kind of like olives, so I brought them that. I think it's like a nice thing to bring, like food is usually a better thing to bring to the office than like other souvenirs. And for the other 90, like I said, the 60 was just like the big olive oil, and my parents actually gave me part of money for that. Still, I wanted to calculate the total amount because I wanted to know how much it is and how much I spent for future reference. It doesn't really matter in this case how much I was already given. Then we have two things that like other and extra. Like this is like if I go to like some specific like dollar store and stuff like that, like items that I don't really know where else to include. I calculated two amounts separately. One was like extra and one was other. I don't really know why I did two separate, but one was 50.3 and the other was 24.53 for one of them, which was like this specific store that we usually go to and spend a bunch of money. We went fast. We did not buy a bunch of shit. We only got a couple of items. I am really happy how that went. The other thing that we bought, I'm really happy about it. I'm not gonna go too much into detail because honestly I don't even remember exactly what we bought, but the total amount is fine in my opinion. I know for one thing for other is that I got like this, I had to buy like in a pharmacy this cream for my skin because I started to get some sort of rash or something. That one was like 11 euros, but other than that I don't really remember what else we bought. I think it was like a diving mask or something. My husband really wanted that, and yeah, that's like what I calculated, and that's almost it. The only other category we have here is transport, and like I said, I only calculated like what we needed from my hometown to the place we were staying and back, like only for that time frame. I did not take into account the tickets we had to buy to fly from here to my hometown, but the estimated amount was around 300 euros and we spent 337.01, and I'm really surprised that we were so close. I think the costs for the ferry were about what we expected, more or less. The only other thing we went over was the fuel cost, and I think part of the reason was because we didn't really have already much in the car, but then when we were going back we filled it completely just to have when we come back and to stay, you know, it's better to be filled than empty. So I think that's about the amount that was left. Those 37 euros seems about the amount that was left in the tank, so I'm okay with it, and I would know for next time to estimate a little bit more just because of this similar reason if we do a similar trip. So now we're doing the total amount, and I don't know if you have been already calculating. I don't recommend that, it's useless, but anyway, for the total amount I kinda rounded up to 1700, and the total amount was 1700.1. Like I said, I just remember to include the honey we bought. Before that it was like 1680 something, I guess, because honey I think was about 20 something. So it's like really funny that in the end it was like so close. I don't really believe this. But let's not forget that I was actually off so many things that I predicted, especially the gifts. Even though I'm happy how it turned out and the total amount worked out, I'm just like, I did not plan for this way, but it kind of worked out. You know, it's like the time when you get the right result, but you got to that point in a wrong way. Anyway, I really hope I did not forget anything that we paid in cash. Everything we paid with card, it's there, but with cash, if we missed something, I'm really sorry. It could be like 5 to 10 euros more or less, probably not, because I calculated everything that I could remember. But yeah, I really tried my best to remember everything and to write everything down and then to include it in the calculation. Either way, I'm glad I wrote everything in this. I tried to write like each day how much we spent, so I have like inputs what I did every day. Like I did it up to like day 5 and then I kind of forgot to do for the rest, but it's okay because as soon as we came here I kind of went back and tried to fill those pages, and the first 5 days were the ones where I couldn't remember almost anything, but after that I did remember pretty okay, so I was able to mostly remember everything, which is the important part, right? I have to say taking pictures really helped because that was the way I could trace back where we went and what we got. So don't make fun of people taking pictures of food, it can help. So yeah, that is the amount we spent. I wanted to calculate the average amount we spent per day, but it doesn't really matter because I could only maybe do it for the food, but I don't really care that much because next time when we go on vacation I will have to go through the same process to calculate how much we could or would spend, and hopefully this time I kind of remember to include the tips. What I learned from this is what I want to remember for next time is to limit both me and my husband on items we buy that are kind of heavy, because this time not only did we buy honey that we couldn't bring, we had like a bunch of bottles that we bought, like olive oil products and stuff, like the hand cream like I mentioned, and the glitter spray that I mentioned. It's like, okay, one thing, second thing, and after a while it's like the suitcase gets to heaven and you have to pay more. This time it was more or less okay because we could leave the stuff in my hometown and then bring it back some other time. But that's not an excuse. We should really buy the stuff we actually plan to use. I have to say, for the glitter mist, I did use it immediately, like that day, and then every single night after that. I think it's worth the money, at least. But yeah, for the other things, we really need to be careful what we get. Especially next time, if we are not going from my hometown, if we buy gifts for the people, it's gonna happen like we have to take it back home to here and then take it from here to give it to them, or they would have to come here. So no, we really need to be careful about that next time. My goal with this was just to kind of show you how I plan my budgets. It's very similar to how I plan it when I'm planning like my local budget for here, but the difference is that I had to go like do the research. So I really hope that that was helpful for you to kind of prepare you for your next vacation. I'm sorry if it's kind of late and you only see this for the next year. If you see it now but you want to save for next year, make sure to like or just add it to your playlist or something, and please subscribe. Maybe I do a little bit of a more in-depth video in the future, or I just do some other useful video in the future for you. So maybe you should subscribe. I don't know, it's up to you to decide if you think this was useful for you. I really hope you do though, because I really hope to see you again, and thank you much for watching. Bye bye.